Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Evolve by Erica, the podcast. I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Shelby May today. She is a psychic medium. She's going to tell you all about her gifts. But I'm just so excited to be here with you and to sit with you and chat and connect on all things this realm and beyond.
Oh, thank you, Erica. Thank you so much for inviting me to meet with you and your gorgeous space. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. It's an honor.
I'm so excited and that you're going to have an event here too. I can't wait.
I can't wait for that.
It's going to be amazing.
Super
November.
excited. Yes,
right?
November. I believe it's November 2nd. I think it is.
Amazing. I can actually put the link to it in the show notes as it comes out if anyone's interested in coming and meeting you in person. But I'm so excited. We connected a few different ways, I feel like. But I heard about you through people that I love and trust. And I was like, this would be such a great conversation. But I also had the hit months before of having a medium experience here at the space. And to be honest with you, I get nervous about, I was never the friend that went to psychic mediums. You know how there are the friends that are so into it. I was not really into it, but I have been to a few. And then after my mother-in-law passed, I went really on behalf of my husband. He wouldn't go, but I felt like he just needed something. So I went to one. It was it was a group one in a restaurant. It was absolutely insane what this man was able to recall. That when I say no one would know except my husband, the details of what he said, it was mind blowing.
Sure.
And it was also I felt safe because there was nothing he was predicting about the future in this reading. He was just recalling events that happened and seeing what my husband went through. And it was just so wild. So that kind of changed my experience. I think it might be, a control thing. Oh my gosh, someone knows something I don't know and I don't want them to know something I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But when I got the hit that I wanted something to take place here, it was kind of random because given that I'm not that person that goes to psychic mediums and I'm not really, really, really into that because it makes me a little nervous. I was like, this is so interesting that this is coming through for an event here at the space. And then shortly after that, we connected and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why we're meant to meet. We're meant to connect and hopefully bring community together to experience your gifts here.
Love that. Oh, I love that. I love that. Yes.
So exciting.
So I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to hold that event as well. And I think that everything, or my belief is that everything is orchestrated, right? Yeah. So it's you having that impression, that intuitive hit, and then the right people coming into your awareness to bring that up to you and realizing that we have these mutual friends.
Yeah.
And, there's no coincidences. So I think that everything aligns the way that it should, and there should never be any pressure for it, right? It has to happen organically. And that's exactly what happened. So
I totally agree.
Yeah.
When did you start doing this? When did you know you had a gift?
Ooh, that's a question that I get asked all the time. And to be honest with you, I didn't realize until I was, I believe, 38 years old. And
wow.
Yeah, until I was 38 years old, did I realize what was happening to me. And it was a really long journey to get there. I always, growing up, had anxiety. It was my middle name, anxiety, panic attacks, my middle name. And it was debilitating. And I was always told that I was so sensitive. Oh, she's so sensitive. She's going to cry. Be careful what you say in front of her. And I was super sensitive. I was, because I was an empath. I still am. And I feel so deeply, right, for the experiences within myself or the experiences within other people. And growing up, I noticed that I had this feeling or didn't have the feeling of being safe. And so, which was from my childhood, right, of the way I was brought up. And so the lack of safety became fear for me, very fearful. And I started to obsess and start to think, what if? What if something happens to me? What if I'm not safe? What if this? What if that? And my mind would kind of just spiral. And
this literally sounds like my story.
Really?
It's crazy.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
literally how I lived in my 20s.
Oh, it's awful. It's debilitating. It's absolutely debilitating. And I didn't understand what was happening to me. And my sister was my mother, right? She played that motherly role for me. And she would always say, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. Don't worry, I've got you. And of course, my parents would say the same thing, but my sister was my safety net, right? So growing up, as long as I had her near me, I would be okay. And as I started getting older and I would go to school, if my sister was in the junior high and I was still in the elementary, or she was in the high school and then I was in the junior high and I didn't have her for certain situations, I would feel really unsafe and uncomfortable. And I always had this anxiety feeling around me, but I noticed that my home was my safe place. I'd rather be home. I noticed that was when I was in crowds with people or in class, the feeling would still be there. And I knew I was okay. I knew I really was safe, but it was the sense of security. And so I would ride the school bus and I would look at people. It's kind of like a twofold, because I would look at people on the school bus and I would analyze them, not realizing I was reading them. And I would look at one person, I would say, wow, this person's really sad.
My gosh.
Yeah, I would look at them and I would say like, wow, they're really sad. And nothing happened. Nothing happened on the bus, but I could just feel it. And then I would look at somebody else and I'd say, oh, she's so bubbly. She's so carefree. She's so this, she's so that. And so I was reading people, their energy, not knowing that I was doing that. And I always went, as a teenager, I always went to psychics and mediums, and they all said the same thing. They would say to me, you have this ability. You have this. This is within you. And I would say, if I'm psychic, wouldn't I know that? Why would I be here for answers and guidance? Wouldn't I know that? And I remember one psychic saying, it's going to unfold when it's supposed to. Don't you worry about it. And so I kind of put it aside, really just thinking like, okay, that was a waste, but she had good points of, other things that she told me. And I put it aside and I really didn't pay any mind to it. And what happened was, there's so much that happened here. I had my children. And each time I had my children, I have 3 children who are now grown, but I had my children. Every time I had one of my children, my anxiety level increased even more. And it wasn't anxiety about, can I take care of them? Can I provide for them? It wasn't that. It was more about the safety of me. Am I safe to be here for them? What if something happens to me? What if I die? What if something happens? And again, that spiral just kept on going and going and going. So I finally had my third child, who's my daughter, and that was the icing on the cake. I had her, and my family thought it was postpartum. They thought I was just going through something. And I was afraid to be alone with her. I was petrified to be alone. And I would pack my other 2, put them on the bus. I would pack her up and I would go to a girlfriend's house and I would stay there all day long until my husband got home, till I had to get the kids off the bus. My one son would say, can I play over a friend's house? And I would say, well, you can't go there, but you can come. They can come here. Because if I was around people,
even your children,
my children,
like your other children,
right? I knew that I was like, okay, they know how to dial 911 if something happened to me. So there was this underlying fear of death, and it came from the feeling of feeling unsafe when I was younger. So, ironically, well, not really ironically, because nothing's a coincidence, my husband had to see an oncologist, and we were in the waiting room. And while we were in the waiting room, I had my watch on my wrist, and I was feeling pain in my wrist. And I was like, wow, my watch is really heavy. What's going on here? And I kept on rubbing my wrist. And so I took my watch off and I put it in my bag, and we got into the room and we spoke with the doctor, and he was watching me. And he said, are you okay? You keep rubbing your wrist. And I said, yeah, I don't know. Something's wrong with it. I don't know, but I'm fine. And he turned around, he opened up his cabinet, and he took out a business card. And he said, here's a neurologist number if you need a neurologist. And I kind of looked at him like, what is this guy telling me? And I said, okay, thank you. And I put it in my pocket. And the next day, I was blow drying my hair, and I couldn't lift my arm, the one that my wrist was hurting. I couldn't blow dry my hair. And I called my mom in a panic. And I said, Mom, something's happening. I can't lift my arm up. She said, well, you probably have a pinched nerve. So she said, it's probably just going down your neck into your arm. And I said, okay, now remind you, right, that my fear was always about safety and something happening to me. There was something, Erica, that I knew as a young child that something was going to happen to me, of the feeling of not being safe, but I didn't know what it was. And so the next day I got up and I went to blow dry my hair again, and I couldn't lift my other arm. And I called her and I said, Mom, something's not right. Something's not right. And she said, well, it's your neck and everything's connected and it's just going down both arms. Whatever it may be, it's probably a pinched nerve. And I said, okay. And she said, Shelby, you're fine. You're fine. So the next morning I got up and I couldn't walk. And I called her and I called my husband, who was at work.
Where were your kids at the time?
I don't even know, Erica. They were probably in school.
Okay. So your daughter's like school age at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in school. And so I called my mom, my husband. I said, I can't walk. I'm trembling. I can't walk. I called my doctor. And my doctor said, okay, let me send you over for testing. And I remember that number in the back of my pocket to the neurologist. And I don't know why. There was something inside of me that said, I have to call this neurologist. And they actually wanted me to see a rheumatologist. So I made the appointment with the neurologist, and they happened to get me in that same day. My doctor wanted me to see the rheumatologist. I wound up going to the rheumatologist first. He said to me, your anxiety is so heightened right now. He said that you can't even function. You can't. I have to give you Xanax. And I said to him, I will not take medication. I don't take medication. I'm petrified of medication. I can't take medication. And he said, you have to calm your nervous system down. So he said, I'm going to give you the smallest dose, and I want you to even break that in half. And I said, okay. And in the meantime, he ran blood on me. And I went home, and my family said, you have to take this. You have to. And I took one pill, the half of the pill, and I did not feel right. And I said, this is not my answer. It's not my answer. This is not right. And so every day I flushed them down the toilet, and I lied to my family, and I told them, I feel great. I'm feeling good. This is helping me. And I had that burning sensation inside because I wasn't really getting better. The anxiety was still there. I just had to fake it and hide it through them. So I wound up going to the neurologist, like I said. And the neurologist did a battery of tests on me. And he said to me, I have good news and bad news. What do you want first? And I said, give me the good news first. And he said, you're going to be okay. And I said, well, then what's the bad news?
Yeah.
And he said, you have to go within. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, have you ever meditated? And I said,
I have chills.
No. Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about this doctor who handed you that, his card or her. It's a man.
Him. Yeah.
Him.
Yeah. Yep. And he said, have you ever meditated before? And I said, no. I said, I'm a gym junkie. I go on the treadmill. I do that. But no, I've never done any meditation or anything like that. And he said, go to a yoga studio. He said, because your anxiety is through the roof, you have to learn how to breathe. And
that's what your arm was, your anxiety?
My arm, no, it was my nervous system. I had a physical breakdown. Some people have a mental breakdown.
Or nervous.
It was my nervous system. I was in that flight or fight, that I was frozen. I can't move. I just can't move. I can't move my body. I wound up going to a yoga studio, and I don't know how I got there. I got there, but I don't know how I got there. And I sat on the mat and I cried. And I cried and I cried. And I don't even think I did a pose. I wasn't even interested in a pose. I was just like, he said, come here.
He said, come here. I'm here. I made it.
Right? Exactly. And she said to me, you look like you can use Reiki. And she said, would you allow me to do some Reiki on you? And she explained what Reiki was. And my mission, Erica, was to heal myself. That was my mission. It was my fear in life that something was going to happen to me. Something did happen to me, and somebody helped me. And so I stayed after, and she did Reiki on me. And I literally could have taped 2 solo cups, right? 2 cups to the sides of my eyeballs and just had them, the fountain just come out. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And she said, there is so much trauma in here that we need to release and we need to let go. And she said, would you like to learn this, how to do Reiki so that you can start working on yourself? And I said, yes. So I wound up taking a certification in Reiki, doing all the certifications. And my first time being there, I was in a room, maybe about 8 people, 9 people in the room. And she started to attune us and bring us through meditation and do all that. She had us sitting in silence for a little part of it. And I was downloaded with information for everybody in the room. And I was like, what is this? What is going on here? Where are these people? Like, what is going on? And I held it all in.
Like you would look at someone and like get the information?
No, because my eyes were closed. I wasn't even looking at anybody. I was in a meditative state and I was seeing spirits and I was hearing voices and I was seeing images.
Okay.
And they were telling me who it was from, the girl next to me, the gentleman that was standing across from me, and they were giving me messages. And so I didn't know what to do with this information. At the end, she wanted everybody to share their experience. And everybody said it was so nice, it was so calming, it was lovely, I saw colors, and I was like, I'm going to burst right now. Your aunt wants me to tell you whatever decision you make, she's going to support you, not to worry about judgment from the other people. Like it was all these different things that were coming forward. And everybody was looking at me like, oh my God.
Did you say all that?
Oh, I had to. I had to because it was like unbuttoning your pants.
Yeah.
It was like that feeling like I have to let this go. I was like, oh my God, and they all looked at me like, where did this come from? And the yoga instructor, who was the Reiki, master teacher, all she said to me was, your whole life's about to change. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you're going to find out and see. She didn't say you're a medium. She didn't say anything. She just said your whole life is about to change. So I went home. I shared with my family what happened. I said, this is the strangest thing that happened. And then all of a sudden, it was like the floodgates opened. My sister walked in my house. I'm staring at my sister and I say to her, Jamie, do you sit next to a man at work that has a photo of his wife at his desk and she's got brown curly hair? And she was like, oh yeah, when did you come to my office? I don't remember you going. I said, I never went to your office, but I saw it. And she said, well, where'd you see it? And I said, here. And she said, where is here? It just, I couldn't even explain to her. And then I started telling her about the guy that she sits next to, and then his grandfather started coming through. All these things were happening. I mean, I could go story after story after story. All these things were happening, and I couldn't understand what was happening. Fast forward, I go to a girlfriend's house to have a group reading, and I lock eyes with another medium, and she says, there's something between you and I. I don't know what it is. And I said, I've never met you before, so I'm not really sure. But I wanted to go to this medium because I was really looking for guidance. Like, tell me something that this Reiki teacher didn't tell me because I'm a walking, now things are like really worse. I'm getting anxiety even more. I'm getting downloads and I'm sharing these things with people. And I was like an open book. I was just everywhere I was going. I was like, hey, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da. And I was like, what is going on? I don't want to leave my house. I don't even want to leave my house more than I didn't want to leave my house, right? So I wound up going to this group reading, and she said, there's something between you and I didn't know what it was. And she said to me, she didn't tell me anything about me being a medium, but she said, can I give you my number? And I said, yeah. And she said, I'm going to reach out to you. And about 2 months later, she reached out to me. And she said, I'm teaching a beginner's mediumship course. And for some reason, I feel drawn to invite you in. Would you be interested? And I said, I'm shaking and I'm sitting inside my bedroom closet right now. I am so scared. I have no idea what this is about. What if there's negative energy? What if it's dark? What if this? What if? And she said, I promise you, it is the most beautiful healing experience. And that's all she had to say is the word healing. because that was my journey, right? For healing. So I wound up going in, taking this class with her, and it opened me up. And it was the best thing, Erica, that I ever did, because I learned how to turn it on and turn it off. I learned that I have control. And from that moment, I was a sponge. I could not get enough of mediumship. I needed to dive in. I needed to learn more. The more I learned about mediumship, the more I learned about myself, the more I understood what was happening in my body. I understood the why. And that's one of the biggest things that I teach now. When somebody comes to me for mentorship, it's the why. Why do you want to do this? What is the underlying reason for this? And if they say, well, it's to bring healing to other people, why? Keep diving, keep going in, because there's an underlining foundation of really understanding yourself.
Yeah.
You can't help somebody else unless you help yourself, right? We know that. So I really am selective of who I work with for development. And since then, it's countless of how many world-renowned mediums I've trained with, I've worked with. I know that I'm human, but I live more up here than I do down here, and I really try to find that balance in bringing it both together, because life, we know, is an experience, but those from the other side have taught me so much. And the biggest thing that they taught me is that there's nothing to fear. There's no death. It's just a transformation.
Oh my gosh, I'm just like taking all of that in. That's unbelievable. And I'm so grateful that you felt guided to share your story with us. When I first wanted to open the space, it was for Mantra Hour, because I feel like in the beginning, when I first started my practice, I was like a breathwork junkie. Like I just wanted the breath. I wanted to connect. And I remember being in training and they'd be like, okay, now in the last 30 minutes of like this 6-hour, 7-hour day, we're going to chant. And I'm like, chant? Like, why would I want to do that? I don't know what this means. I don't know what this even is. I'm not going to get high like I do with breath work. Like, why would I want to do that? And then slowly I became very connected to it. Wow. And when I opened this space, I was like, I just need a space where I could bring people together, where whoever is guided to do this, they could come and experience it for themselves. Because how do you really explain that revelation and that idea and that feeling to anyone unless they can experience it for themselves? But I feel like being a medium, you do, like you bring a piece from that realm to other people, and you help them to be able to bridge that in a way. And I think that's what's so cool and amazing about your work. Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because people always say, like, you have such a gift, you have such a gift. It's not necessarily a gift, right? We all have this within us. In our own way, we're all mediums. But it's a matter of the more you open up within yourself, right? Because we know when we quiet the mind, right, we can then hear, right? So it's a matter of how much you're willing to do the work with yourself to be able to hear that that small, still voice that's inside of you, or the spirit world, or whatever, whomever it may be, your guides, right? So is it a gift? Yes. But the gift is really for me to be sharing. That's the gift. It's not, oh, look what I can do, because you can do it too. You can, in my opinion. Anybody can be a medium. It's to the level of what they're going to do, right? So you can carry a tune, you can sing, I can sing, but I'm certainly not Barbara Streisand, I can't get there. It's just, and I don't have a desire, right? I don't have a desire for that. So I can sing in the car, and that's enough for me, that in itself makes me feel good. So it's really teaching people to know that you can do this. There are ways that you can connect with your loved ones. You don't need a medium. I'm really just that bridge to connect the two together to help you. Really, my journey is to help other people understand about where their loved ones are and how they're still here, and to really build that relationship with them in a different way. So you said before, all of a sudden you learned how to have this boundary of like, I'll receive information now, I won't be received. Like, it wasn't like the floodgates were still open. You learned energetic boundaries. You learned how to manage the information coming in. I want to know how you learned that. And like, I always question that when I meet with mediums. I'm like, seriously, like, come on, you're not getting information right now. Like, you're going to tell me you're not,
Yeah.
like, really tell me about that process and how that works.
Okay. So that's great. So can you imagine if you were sitting home and I just walked in your front door and didn't knock? You would be like, what are you doing here? I never invited you in, right? Exactly. So we don't have permission to just sit there and go in somebody's energy space and read for them. You know, I would never do that. I wouldn't go up. And when I was first developing, it was just coming out of me. I had no idea what was happening. But once I learned, I said, my gosh, you know, not everybody understands this. Not everybody. And not only that, but there's a time and a place. Right? So you're walking down the street. You're not going to say, excuse me, you know, your dad's here and he wants me to give you a message. I'm not that type of medium. I would not do that. But as far as like the boundaries or, hey, do you turn it on, turn it off? You have to. You have to, because we're still human and we have to go through human experiences. And that's where we're growing too. And the more life experiences that we have, the more the spirit world is going to trust us to say, oh, they understand this now because they've had this experience. So we can't always be here in woo-woo land, right? And connecting with spirit. We have to kind of be in that denser energy and go through the life experiences here that we're supposed to go through. So it's like me working all day, all night, right? Like you need a break, you need a vacation, you need that. I will share with you and tell you that every time I go on vacation, and I don't know why spirit does this to me, but every time I go on vacation and I am sitting there and I am relaxed, all of a sudden I'll get this sense, because the way it comes to me is an anxiety. It feels like this anxiety, but I've learned the difference between what's mine and what's spirit. And so I will get this anxiety feeling. And I'll say it's usually my husband that I'm on vacation with. And he'll say to me, are you with me? Are you talking to me? You know, are you listening? And I'll say, just keep talking to me right now, because no, I'm not really with you. I'm hearing, and it's for the person next to me. Let me just hear what they want to say. And then, you know, I'll take it from there. So I have this cue now that I do with spirit, and they know this, that if I'm on vacation and there's a message, that the person that's also on vacation, the stranger that I don't know, has to approach me. I'm not going to go over to somebody. If it's okay and they need that message and they really need it, they have to get up and they have to approach me. So
like initiate a conversation.
That's right.
Like anything.
That's right.
Oh, you look so beautiful today. Like something like that. They have to open it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. We got to our vacation spot one year, and this is the first time that it happened. And my husband was golfing, and we were with a bunch of friends on vacation, and I ordered a drink, and I'm not really a drinker. You know, when you do this work, most mediums, I would say, not all, but most mediums, they'll see that shift. You know, it's toxic. So you'll see that shift that you just can't really drink the way you did. Or I was never really a drinker myself, but I really don't drink. But at the time, I ordered
just funny that you ordered a drink, and then all of a sudden it's like, here comes the message.
Well, that's what happened. But Erica,
before you took your sip,
I got two sips in, and all of a sudden I go, oh my God, I'm roofied. I think I'm roofied. Something happened. Something's happening. And the anxiety came in, and my girlfriend's like, are you okay? Do you want me to get your husband? I'm like, no, actually don't get him. Just give me a minute. And I walked away, and I sat in a corner on a chair, and I just relaxed myself. I started breathing. And as I was relaxing, I felt this gentleman started coming to me. And I was like, who are you? Why are you here? What is going on? And he said, the blonde, my name is Mike. I'm 56 years old. Please tell her thank you. She helped take care of my children. Please thank her. And I said, I'm not thanking her. I'm not going up to her. I said, you have her approach me. And so I left the conversation with him. I walked back to my friends. I said, I'm fine. I'm complete. And I didn't want to tell them what was going on, because that's not what vacation's about. Like, and I want to escape that. I don't want to be doing that. So 2 minutes later, the woman gets up out of her chair, and she looks me directly in my eyes, and she said, excuse me, can you please tell me where the towels are? And I said, let me walk you. I'll show you. And that's when I knew that she was meant to hear this, you know. And I have so many other stories, you know, sitting with somebody near a fire pit, and her dad, you know, who was an alcoholic, came through and needed to apologize, and all these different things that have happened. But my boundaries with spirit is I'm not going to give anybody a message unless they come to me. So that has really helped, you know, because there are times that I do feel spirit around and I say, no, like, you know, not unless they come to me, and then they'll walk away and I'll say, okay, that's it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I know.
It kind of makes me feel better that they're not like scary premonitions. Like it's more messages from the other side and from loved ones than like you seeing the future of that person. Or does that happen too?
It does not happen to me, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that would freak me out.
Right?
Yeah. I think that would freak me out.
And then it freaks me out because then I'm like, you know something I don't know, and then I don't feel safe around you.
Yeah.
But other people actually seek that and want that.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend who will literally call a psychic and be like, tell me what's going to happen in this situation. I need the guidance.
So you see how you just said guidance? That's different. So when I am reading with someone, what I say to them is that I can offer you life guidance, but you are in the driver's seat. You have full control over your life, and nobody should tell you different. I could say, Erica, you're getting a brand new car tomorrow, and you could turn around tomorrow and say, you know what? I'm not going to leave my house.
I'm not getting that car. Yeah.
I'm not leaving my house. I'm not getting it, because you're in full control. So things can change all the time, right? They can. And here's the truth. We're human. We could be wrong.
Yeah.
We could be wrong. Why would we either instill fear in somebody else or tell them we're taking your power away when we tell you what's going to happen, right? Now, you may come to me and say, you know, should I change jobs, or should I move, or should I get this divorce, or whatever your questions may be. And I could give you guidance as to why you're feeling the way you're feeling, that you need to get that divorce, that you need to change that job, that you need to move. I want you to use your intuition. I want you to feel the answer within you, because that's the truth. We all have intuition. It's that internal guidance system. It's there that we're born with. We all have it, and we shut it down. So when we start to feel, that's when we start to heal, and that's when we can tune in to our own energy and really get the answers within. Right?
If someone comes to you with any of those questions that you just mentioned, when you receive guidance for them, does it come from their ancestor? Does it come from light beings that you connect with? Is it a combination? Like, where are you most often getting your information from?
Okay. Another great question. So there's 3 ways that I read. I do mediumistic readings, which is when I'm connecting with those that are departed in the spirit world, right? Their loved ones. I'm doing intuitive readings or psychic readings, where I'm tuning into the energy of them, or I'm doing a soul reading. And when I do soul readings, it's more of a higher being. It's whether it's their spirit guides, my spirit guides, but it's a different realm that's coming through and just downloading me with the information. I love all 3 of them, but I really love soul, because to me, connecting with the soul is so healing. It's so healing, and it's so powerful. I can turn around to you and I could say to you, Erica, your father-in-law is here in the spirit world, or was it your mother-in-law, right? Your mother-in-law. I'm sorry. Your mother-in-law. I'm not connected, but, your mother-in-law is here in the spirit world, and she knows that, I'm totally making this up, that you have her favorite perfume, right? And that's healing, and that's comforting.
Which we do, by the way.
You do?
And as you're asking me this, I'm like thinking of my next question of what I want to ask you about. And it was how I can help my husband see that his mom is around.
Okay.
And you just already gave me an example of that without being connected. So funny. We have her favorite perfume, and he'll often smell it. We had it on a shelf in our house. Yeah.
Oh, see, so she's here with us, right? Clearly she's here with us. But that's healing, and that's comforting to you, right? To know that she knows that you have that perfume. But it would be, for me, so much more healing to go into the soul of what does she really want you to know? Is it, thank you for being there for me in the hardest times. I know how hard and difficult this was for you, or was it, a message to give to your husband to say, I know the soul connection. I can actually feel it right now, the soul connection between your husband and his mother. There is a soul connection between the two of them. And not just a soul connection, a soul connection.
Yeah.
I can actually sense and feel right now your mother-in-law and your husband. It's almost as though her giving birth to him was like this incredible bond. There could be other siblings, but there's something very special between the two of them. So if your mother-in-law came through and said that and talked about their connection and how he's pushing this down, and he's just starting to speak about his grief right now because he had this way of pushing things down, right? Trying to fight this feeling that he was feeling. To me, that's a little bit more comforting and healing than, your mother-in-law knows that you have her perfume.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's evidence to know that she sees.
Exactly.
But there's so much more that can be spoken about. So I like to go into really go deep. Yeah. But that's also, I'm a Scorpio. So I'm all about deep communication and going deep. That's me. And that's, what I love. When I was younger, I actually wanted to be a therapist. And I would ride the bus. Like I told you, I would look at other people on the bus and analyze them. And I didn't become a therapist, but it did in its own way. It opened up this way. I had to crack. I had to know what pain and suffering felt like, and there's a lot more to my story. There's a lot more. I had to go through trauma with addiction from my husband. My husband's a recovering addict of almost 26 years. And when I wanted to be a therapist, like I said to you, I was like, oh, here's my first client. I'm going to help him. I'm going to save him. No, I'm not. No, I'm not, but it's all these different things that were happening to me, and because I played the safe role growing up and safety and afraid of death, I looked at my husband, I have to save you so you don't die. And let me help you. Let me help you. And, it was a lesson for me to go through to understand and learn.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Today's actually 10 years that my husband went into rehab for the first time, for the third time, and he's like 10 years sober today.
Wow.
Like I just keep seeing so much alignment.
Wow.
So crazy.
That's incredible. Good for him.
Yeah. And good for your husband as well. It's amazing. But I know how hard that journey is as well.
Yeah.
It's unless like you're really in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So there's so many things I wanted to ask you, but the next thing I was thinking about was you mentioned before, like there is no death. And I would love for you to expand more on that because I think it's just one of the hardest things we go through as humans, like loving so deeply, feeling so connected to the people that we love. And then in a moment, those people cannot be here, or we may not be here. And I think it would be so comforting for other people to hear like your perspective on that there is no death and that something still lives.
Oh, yeah. So I have many stories on that. And one I think I'm going to share with you is when I was 16 years old, my aunt was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And I remember visiting her in the hospital. And I held her hand and I asked her, are you going to die? And she looked at me and she said, no. And I said, do you promise? Because death was my fear, right? And my aunt was a therapist, just so you know. Okay. So I said, do you promise? And she said, I promise you. And shortly after that, she died. And I lost my trust in her. I was angry, not at her, but I said, she lied to me. She lied to me. And it took me a long time to figure out that she's closer to me than I've ever experienced in my life. She has helped me on my journey through my own therapy, through helping myself, helping others. She is part of my everyday. I can sense her. I can feel her. I can journal with her. There are so many ways to connect with your loved ones. It's limitless. It's limitless. And if you just allow yourself to remove the chatter and to get to that neutral space, right? It's not just about raising your vibration. because sometimes when you are at your lowest point, that's when you crack open too.
Mm.
So it's getting to that neutral space and allowing yourself to accept that you can connect and really being open-minded to it. You'll see all the different signs that come in. So when we talk about transformation, what I like to say to my clients when they're in that state and they come to me, grief never goes away. It never goes away,
Yeah.
but it comes in waves. And when they come to me, sometimes they come a little too soon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that they're able to hear me and listen, because if not, their mind is going and they're just thinking of and having the flashbacks of everything that happened. So one thing that I say to them that I try to help them with is I say to them, you were once a year old, right? And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, and you were once 5? Yeah. Well, where's that 1-year-old? Where did she go? Or where did he go? Where's that 5-year-old? Where did they go? And they kind of pause for a little bit and they say, I'm right here. It's me. I'm right here. And I say to them, yeah, that's right. You're right here. I'm looking at that 1-year-old. I'm looking at that 5-year-old. I'll never see them the way that they were, but they're still right here. And everything is evolving. Everything is growing. You're transforming. That's what you're doing. You're never going to look the same. You're not going to look like you were when you were 1 year old. You're not going to talk the way. You're not going to act the way. You're not. You're evolving and you're growing. And what happens is when we get to a place where we no longer need our physical body, that's when we transcend. That's where we transform to the spirit world. We lose our physical body and we meet our loved ones in the spirit world. And it's a beautiful place to be. Nobody ever goes there and says, where am I? What am I doing? Who's here? You're always greeted by somebody there. And everybody has a different experience of how they get there, the way spirit will lead them there. But it's the same for everyone. And what I like to say too is imagine when we talk about dreaming, right? Imagine we're dreaming right now. All this is a dream. And when we wake up from our dream, we're actually really alive, more so than ever. And the reason why I use that analogy is because every single loved one or those that are departed in the spirit world has always come through. And they've always expressed how beautiful and peaceful it is. This is where they have what we call a life review, where they look at their life and they look at the obstacles that they had when they were here. And they say, now I realize why I did what I did. Or I'm so grateful, right? I'm so grateful that I had this beautiful family. I'm so grateful that I was able to take care of, or I had this beautiful relationship, whatever it may be. We have this life review that we look upon. And I've never encountered a situation where somebody came through saying, I'm angry, or I don't want to speak to this one. This is where they meet up in the spirit world and they forgive each other. It's all about love. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share another experience. The other thing that I share is when somebody is pregnant, like yourself, right? You love that baby, and everybody that you know that's connected to you loves that baby. They automatically love that baby. And now everybody is playing the waiting game, and they're waiting to hold that baby and kiss that baby and love that baby. So this baby is going to come into this world with the emotion of love, because that's the only thing this baby is going to know. And when you send your child off to school, your child's going to start to learn a little bit of fear and anxiety. How come my mommy's not coming with me? All I know is my home and my safety net, right? So they're going to learn a little bit of fear and anxiety, and then they're going to gain that back because they're going to say, okay, I see a pattern here. I'm coming home after school, and they're going to get into that routine, and they're going to start to feel safe again. But then let's say they meet little Joey or whoever it is, and Joey doesn't want to play with them. So now they're going to learn the sadness, and they're going to learn all these different emotions, right? Fear, jealousy, excitement, happiness, anger, all the mixed emotions. And every single one of us that are here having this physical human experience are looking for that one emotion that we were born into. We're looking for that emotion, love, because it's the pure essence of who we really are.
Yeah.
And when we push that away, we invite all these other emotions to come in, and we hold on to what feels comfortable. And so we have to learn to let go of the anger, the resentment, the worry, the fear, the jealousy, all of that, and allow ourselves to feel the truth of who we are.
Yeah.
Right?
It resonates so much. And like I said, like, if I didn't have a practice, if I didn't have my meditation practice that gave me this example and this experience, I feel like it would be hard for me to understand what you're saying and connect to that space. But like, for example, my grandpa just passed away, and my family will sometimes be like, he wants us to be happy, but he wants to know we miss him a lot too. And like, he'll want to know that. And like, of course he will. But I have this different perspective of like, all that humanness doesn't live with him anymore, because he's at peace, and he wants us to live our life and be happy and be in peace. And if he said in the past, like, oh, look, their dad passed away and they don't seem like they missed that was the human in him.
That's right.
And that's not his spirit and his soul. And I try to explain that. And the only reason I've had that revelation is just because of what I feel when I connect to my soul. And I think that's one of the same. Like, when they talk about like heaven on earth, I think there's parts of us that can truly connect to the energy of heaven on earth, even though the earth is a shit show right now in the 3D realm. So partly why it's a shit show, I think, is because so many of us are able to connect to this light.
That's right.
We're able to connect to the heaven that does exist here. And there's a little bit of a battle and a war going on to maybe have us doubt that, or to live in fear, to question if that can really be. But it can be, because I've experienced it, you've experienced it, and we know that frequency, and that could really merge and exist here. So everything that you share really, really resonates. And it is all about just pointing everyone back to going within themselves, because that does live there. The gift does live there. And it's just really awesome and cool.
Oh, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
And, we're all on this journey together, right? We're all on this journey. And if we can just hold each other's hand through it, it makes it so much easier. Nobody needs to walk alone.
Yeah. So you and I were talking a bit before off camera just about how I shared with you my journey to conception and how I experienced 2 miscarriages before having this healthy pregnancy. And I was wondering your philosophy on loss before children actually come earthside, and anything you want to share on that.
Sure. It's my belief that only a soul can determine whether they want to have a human experience. And when that soul is ready to come, that soul will choose its parents and will choose what we call life experiences, what they're here to undertake within themselves. And sometimes that soul says, I'm ready. And they come down and they make it through. And within minutes, days, months, or years, they decide, I'm not ready for this. I need to transition back. I'm only supposed to be here for a short period of time. Sometimes when we have this pregnancy, they decide, I thought I wanted to come and have this experience, and no, I don't. In my belief, what I truly feel is that this has nothing to do with you. This has to do with the soul, whether they're ready to come forward. And I honestly feel that there's a lesson in this, right? And when I say a lesson, I don't mean there's a life lesson. You did something wrong. Did you learn your lesson? No, it's what am I supposed to understand from here? How can I heal from this and not make this so much about me, but about the experience in this lesson? Maybe I can communicate with my unborn child and understand why they chose not to come back here. Maybe I can do that through dreams. Maybe I could do that through automatic writing, through meditation. Maybe I won't have the answer, but maybe the little baby that's inside you right now is going to be this, old soul that is maybe taking on, the siblings, part of the siblings, and coming here, and maybe something will come out later on of why you understand that this child's soul, do you know what you're having?
Yeah, boy.
Maybe he will say something that will help you better understand why he chose to be the soul. Okay, it'll be me. I'll be the one to come. I'll do this with mom and dad. I'll do this. Do I feel that the other two souls are not connected to you? No. I feel like they're still a part of your life.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
I do.
Yeah. I got pregnant with this baby when my grandpa was passing. And it was really interesting because 2 weeks before I knew I was pregnant, so literally when I conceived, he was saying, Erica's pregnant, Erica's pregnant, Erica's pregnant. And my mom was like, she's not yet. Like, we didn't know. And then I was pregnant, and I told him. And I was like, what do you think it is? Like, I had him look at the sonogram picture. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, it's too soon to tell, but you're actually going to have a choice. There's a boy and a girl, and you're going to choose the boy, but you really need a girl too. And it was a boy, and it ended up being a boy. Like, it was too soon for me to tell, but that was his. It's just interesting. Yeah. It was just interesting.
And now this was, you said, right before he passed?
Right. He passed in April, and I conceived in April.
Okay, so what could have happened was that he was picking up on right before we're ready to transition. We're kind of connected there with the spirit world.
100%.
Right. So same thing with those that have dementia and Alzheimer's, right? We think they're going out of their minds. They're actually getting ready. So they're in two separate worlds.
My other grandma, who passed the year before, that was after I went through my 2 losses. I went into her home one day, and my aunts were just like, she's so out of it. She had dementia at that point, and she was truly in and out. And they're like, don't let, like, anything she's saying, it doesn't make any sense. As soon as I walked in the room, she said, the baby is here. And I was like, no, like, this is when I'm sitting there and listening to everything, actually, because I feel that, like, they're in between 2 realms. And it was actually very weird. I went to her funeral, obviously, and there was a little baby girl carriage in the front of the church.
What? Wow.
Me and my mom looked at each other, and we were like, what? Wow. And I really think my first one was a girl. Like, I just felt it. Yeah. I didn't know, but I felt it. And for so long, I told myself that, like, the same soul is coming back, and that soul might come back, but now I know it's completely different, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
In the beginning, I was just like,
right. You
like,
feel like this is the,
yeah. So it's so interesting. And I feel like there's so much that goes on.
I honestly feel, Erica, that we're not supposed to have the answers to everything. I feel like, when we get there, we'll learn more.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what the whole path has taught me, of like truly surrendering. Like, we can talk about surrender. Yeah. And then there comes a time where you actually really embody the surrender. And without those experiences, I wouldn't be in that space right now. And it's making my pregnancy a lot more joyful because I'm able to surrender. And hopefully it will help me through motherhood as well, because, there's not much we can control.
Yeah. What an amazing experience. Yeah. That is amazing.
Do you have any messages about our world? Anything maybe that's coming through now for you, or that's come through in recent readings? Just like, the state of the world is so intense. And is there any messages that you've received from Spirit about where we're going as a collective, or what's to come, or anything like that?
Well, I don't tune in that way.
Okay.
I don't tune in that way because it's foreseeing the future. Yeah. And I don't like to do that. It's not that I cannot see. It's that I choose not to see.
I understand that.
Yeah. I choose not to see. I do not watch TV. I don't. Anything about the world and what's going on in the world is through social media, if I'm on it, or hearing my family discuss it. But Shelby lives in her bubble.
Same.
I have to. I have to live in my bubble because I've already had so much fear and anxiety about safety in life. Yeah. I don't want to hear this. I want to be able to go to a store and feel safe in a store. I want to be able to go to different places. I don't want to have to look over my back. I don't. Absolutely. I like my little bubble. I like my little space. I think that we are in a place where everything is shaking. And I think that we are opening up, though. And that's really where this crack is coming from. We have to change, because that's how we evolve and that's how we grow. It's been intense, and it's been coming so quickly and heavily for the past few years for us, because we haven't had this break. But when are we going to break? When are we going to see it? When is the change going to happen? And it's slowly happening. I do feel that it's slowly happening. I think so many more people are becoming enlightened and spiritual, and people are waking up, their intuition. People are really trying to find themselves. They are. But then we have those that can't. They're just hurting and they're suffering so bad. So that's the tug of war.
Totally. And there is so much light available to us. And I think there is such importance in not being so consumed by all of it and consuming all of that energy, so that if we're consuming, we're not tapping into our essence and that creation. So there has to be that balance of really coming back and connecting. But there's just so much light that we have access to. And I really believe that we're shifting as a collective and coming into that space of interconnectedness. But
I do agree. And
time.
I think it's going to take, it's going to take time. It's going to take time.
It's a huge shift.
And then you'll have people say, I don't want to bring children into this world because the world is so crazy.
Yep.
I think it's a great thing that you're bringing children into this world, because those children are going to be the ones that are really making the shift. They're the ones, we have the little exposure. It's almost like technology, right? You give it to your grandparents and they're like, what am I doing with this? I don't know any better.
Yeah.
And the younger ones know. So
true.
They're going to come in and they're going to see things from a totally different perspective from us.
So true. It's so true. Can you tell us about your events and how they typically go? Because I'm so excited to have the event here, and I would love the community to just hear what to expect.
Sure. So I offer private readings that are one-on-one. I do that virtually. I do that in person. And I have events that I do. I also offer group readings where I travel to people's homes. And those are a little bit more small and intimate, where events are a little bit a larger amount of people. So typically when I do an event, it's usually about 20, 25 people or more that I'll do an event and hold that space. Lately, it's been shifting, and it's been coming in a little bit smaller. And I've been trying to think of why. And it's because it's really allowing me to get to everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's really, So it's not for entertainment. And unfortunately, mediums have to put their business as for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no entertainment in this whatsoever. So the events are, how long? Is that what you meant? Like how long?
Yeah, and just what to expect as a participant.
Okay, sure. So not everybody will be read, but when you're here and you're at an event, the beautiful thing about that is you may see somebody else being read, but you'll be able to resonate with that information. And that will be a little nudge from your loved ones in the spirit world saying, hey, Erica, I'm here too. Take what you can from this. It's think about everybody that's an event, and then think of everybody that has all their loved ones in the spirit room. So the room is filled with so many people. Only so many can come in and communicate. So when you're having an event, it's healing. It's so comforting. It opens your eyes up to things. Sometimes we'll have people that have never experienced having a reading before, and it's a great opportunity for them to just get a little exposure of what this is like. They're not going to tell your deep, darkest secrets at an event. They're not going to embarrass you. They're not going to say anything. It's for healing purposes. This is where love is connected. This is where we open our hearts and our minds to the spirit world, and we feel them. You can feel the essence of a spirit communicator that's here in the room. It's not just me feeling them. People will walk away and say, I know they were here. I felt them. Yeah. So it's a beautiful experience.
So nice.
Yeah.
It's
everybody, I will say this, everybody, even if you don't personally get read, everybody will walk away with something.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. just being in that energy and hearing through others and like seeing the faith through others and their stories that have come through. I'm really excited for it. So if anyone wants to work with you after listening to our conversation, where can they find you?
So I have a website, shelby-may.com. They can book with me there on my website. There they can find all my upcoming events. They can see what's going on. They can find me on Facebook. They can find me on Instagram, Shelby May. It's just Shelby May Medium. I'm sorry, Shelby May Medium. I don't study those. I don't. But I'm there on Instagram and Facebook.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll link all of that in the show notes too, so it's easy for everyone to find you. But I just want to thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your story. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you
like
so
truly
much.
Such a pleasure. So nice meeting you and connecting with you. And I can't wait to
Thank you,
have
Erica.
you here. I can't wait.
Thank you so much for having me. And the feeling is mutual. I really enjoy this so much. And I'm happy to, you have any other questions along the way, you can always reach out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.